You know that feeling when you look at a project you've been working on, and it's technically working, but it just looks tired.
Oh, yeah. It works, but please don't touch it or breathe on it phase.
Exactly. And in the world of gardening, there's a specific word for it, and it's just a little devastating. It's leggy.
Mm.
It's that look where a plant is just sparse, it's stretching out, it's losing leaves at the bottom, and it's just barely hanging on.
And we panic. We either drown the poor thing in water or we move it to 5 different windows in a week.
Right, we just confuse it even more. But today, we're doing a deep dive into a source that suggests we should stop treating nature like some kind of mystery and, well, start treating it like a system.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
We're looking at a blog post from kionmeng.org. It's titled Notes on Gardening, Part 789, Addressing Leggy Vinca.
Part 789. Wow, that number alone that's the first clue right there.
It totally stopped me in my track. This isn't just a casual post. It dropped on January 27th, 2026, so it's fresh. But it is built on this massive legacy of documentation.
This whole repository. And the author, Ang, he describes himself in a way that just perfectly explains it all. He calls himself an old software plumber.
Which makes so much sense. He's a guy who tinkers with open source software, languages like Erlang and Haskell, Python.
So he's not thinking about the magic of nature.
Not at all. We are here to talk about debugging. The whole premise is, what happens when you apply the mindset of a software engineer? Reading error logs, analyzing system resources, deploying patches to a biological system that's failing.
It changes everything from hope to protocol.
Yeah.
You don't guess with a server, you diagnose. He's doing that with his garden.
So that's our mission today. We're going to unpack Ang's specific protocol for reviving his struggling Vinca plant. We'll go through the diagnosis, the error logs, and then look at his 3-tiered solution stack.
A full system reboot. I love it.
Okay, let's start with those error logs. The subject is the Vinca, which is also called the periwinkle. It's supposed to be pretty bulletproof.
Super robust, yeah.
So when Ang says his Vinca is leggy,
Yeah.
what are we actually looking at? What's the error message on the screen?
He's really specific. He's observing the visual data points. The main symptom is that the plant is shedding its lower leaves.
So it's basically balding from the bottom up.
Pretty much. Instead of being this, bushy, vibrant thing, you have these long, thin stems, the legs, with maybe a little bit of green at the top, but the whole bottom is bare.
And for him, that's not just like an aesthetic problem.
No, it's a symptom. It's a symptom of resource mismanagement. He identifies it right away as nutrient deficiency.
Okay, let's unpack that. Why does a nutrient deficiency make it drop the bottom leaves? Why not the top ones?
It's just pure resource allocation. The plant is making a logic decision. It realizes it doesn't have enough, say, nitrogen to support the whole architecture.
So it prioritizes.
It prioritizes the new growth at the tip, because that's the future. It deprecates the old code, the lower leaves, and it actually cannibalizes them for nutrients to keep the main system running.
Wow. I can't support the whole architecture, so I'm cutting legacy support. That's an amazing way to frame it.
Exactly. And this is where that software plumber brain kicks in. A regular gardener might think, oh, maybe it needs more sun or more water. Ang looks at the maintenance schedule. He realizes the legacy code is outdated.
He's pushing update.
He needs to deploy a comprehensive fertilizing schedule. And I want to stress that word, comprehensive. He doesn't just grab a bottle of generic plant food. He builds a 3-tier stack.
Okay, so you have the base load, the infrastructure, and what's the third one?
The aesthetic patch.
The aesthetic patch. I love that. Let's break down tier 1, the base load.
This is the core of the operation. It's a biweekly application of a balanced water-soluble fertilizer with an NPK ratio of 15-15-15.
Okay, hold on. We see those numbers all the time. 10-10-10, 20-20-20. It feels like a secret code. Why 15-15-15, and why is balanced so important here?
So NPK is nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Nitrogen is for leaves, phosphorus is for roots and flowers, and potassium is for, overall plant health.
Right. So my instinct would be, if it's losing leaves, just blast it with nitrogen. Get those leaves back.
And that would be introducing a new bug into the system.
How?
Well, if you push a ton of leafy growth without the root structure to support it, that's the phosphorus, or the cellular strength to hold it all up. That's the potassium. You just get a bigger, weaker plant that crashes even harder later.
It's full stack development.
Yeah.
You can't just upgrade the front end and leave the database running on a toaster.
Precisely. And the biweekly timing is just as critical. It's like continuous integration, small, regular updates. If you starve the plant, then dump a huge load on it, you just shock the system. He's creating a steady, reliable power supply.
Okay, so that's tier 1. It keeps the plant running.
Yeah.
But then he moves to tier 2, the infrastructure layer. This is where he gets organic.
Right. He adds a monthly application of organic compost or pelletized chicken manure.
Now, wait a second. If he's already giving it the perfect 15-15-15 chemical mix, why does he need chicken manure?
Yeah.
Isn't that just redundant?
This is such a crucial distinction. The NPK fertilizer feeds the plant. The compost and manure feed the soil.
Ah, okay. That's a huge difference.
Think of the soil as the server hardware. You can have the best code in the world, that's your fertilizer. But if the server is overheating and the hard drive is corrupted, the code won't run.
And chemical fertilizers don't do anything for the hardware.
Nothing. In fact, over time, without organic matter, soil just collapses. It gets compacted, turns into a brick, can't hold air or water. The chicken manure is adding that organic matter back in. It's enhancing the soil structure.
So he's defragging the hard drive. Upgrading the RAM, maybe?
In a way, yeah. He's making sure the environment is robust enough to actually process the nutrients he's adding in Tier 1.
That makes total sense. You need good hardware to run the application. So we have the base load and the infrastructure. Then we get to Tier 3. This one feels a bit like UI polish.
The aesthetic patch.
Right, an occasional dose of Epsom salt.
1 teaspoon per liter, to be exact.
The specificity is just, it's amazing. Not a handful.
Right.
1 teaspoon. What is Epsom salt doing in a garden pot? I thought that was for like a sprained ankle.
It's all about magnesium. Epsom salt is magnesium sulfate, and magnesium is the central atom in the chlorophyll molecule.
Wait, you mean literally? Like if you zoomed in on a microscope, it's right there in the middle.
Literally. It's sitting right in the center, holding the whole thing together. So if a plant is magnesium deficient, it can still grow, but the leaves get kind of pale, maybe a bit yellow.
So the plant is running, but the graphics settings are turned down to low.
Exactly. And Ang says he wants the leaves to be a deep, healthy green. He's not just satisfied with survival, he wants high-def performance.
So, okay, this protocol sounds perfect. 15, 15, 15 to the engine, manure for the chassis, Epsom salt for the paint job. But he found another bug, didn't he? A much nastier one.
Yeah, an environmental bug, an external threat that was about to crash the whole system, salt buildup.
This part really surprised me. He blames 2 things, dry weather and tap water. How does tap water become a toxic salt dump?
Well, we think of water as just H2O, but the stuff from your hose is loaded with dissolved minerals. Chlorine, sodium, calcium salts, all kinds of stuff.
And rain is different.
Rain is pure, it's distilled, and when it rains heavily, it flushes everything out. But in a pot, relying on tap water, especially during dry weather, you're constantly adding those salts.
And they don't go anywhere.
The plant drinks the water, the salts stay behind. It's like a cache that never gets cleared. And eventually, the salt concentration gets so high, it actually reverses the osmotic flow.
It reverses it. What does that mean?
Normally, water flows from the soil into the roots. But if the soil gets salty enough, it holds onto the water tighter than the roots can pull.
So the plant could be sitting in wet soil and technically be dying of thirst.
Yes. It's a physical lockout. It's a denial of service attack on the roots.
That is terrifying. And it explains why just dumping more fertilizer, which is also a salt, might actually make things worse.
You'd just be adding to the toxicity.
So how does our software plumber fix a hostile environment? He can't make it rain.
No, but he can alter the soil's physical properties. He deploys a very specific patch. Gypsum?
Gypsum, like in drywall.
The very same. Calcium sulfate. But in the garden, it's a miracle worker for this exact bug. Ang says you use it with the compost to help loosen the soil and improve drainage.
How does a powder loosen soil? That sounds backwards.
It's all chemistry. Gypsum causes the tiny clay particles in the soil to clump together. It's a process called flocculation.
Flocculation, that's a fantastic word.
Isn't it? It basically takes tiny particles that pack like cement and binds them into larger crumbs. And those crumbs create gaps, pore space, in the soil.
It opens the floodgates.
Exactly. So the next time you water, instead of the water just sitting there and depositing more salt, it flows through the soil and washes the toxic buildup out the bottom.
He's clearing the cache. A system flush.
He's resetting the environmental variables so that the new code, all that fertilizer, can actually execute.
It's just so systematic. The symptom, the root cause, the multi-layered solution. It's not intuition. It's just pure logic.
And that brings us back to the author, Ang, because this is part 789. This systematic brain of his, it applies to, well, everything he touches.
I saw that list on his site.
Oh.
It's a little daunting. Notes on photography, notes on dieting, notes on home improvement,
And right next to that, notes on rust, notes on go, notes on Erlang.
and notes on fish keeping,
Yeah.
specifically betta spawn logs.
I can only imagine the spreadsheets for betta spawning.
But it proves the point, right? He's a tinkerer. Whether he's compiling code in Haskell or compiling a compost pile, the process is identical. Observe, hypothesize, test, document.
And then share it. That's the key, the open source ethos.
Yeah, he calls himself an old software plumber tinkering with free Libre and open source software. In that floss world, you don't hoard your fixes, you commit them. You share the documentation.
So the next person doesn't have to suffer through the same bug.
That's exactly what this felt like to read. It wasn't a how-to article full of fluff. It was a commit log. Subject: fixed leggy Vinca bug. Changes: updated fertilizer dependencies. Patched soil with manure. Cleared salt catch with gypsum.
And it takes the ego out of it. He doesn't claim to have a magic touch. He didn't get emotional that his plant was failing. He just looked for the error in the logic.
Green thumb is a myth. It's just good documentation.
Pretty much. And being willing to read the error logs and try a patch.
So let's recap this Vinca revival protocol for everyone listening. Because even if you don't have a Vinca, these principles apply to almost anything in a pot that looks a bit sad.
Okay, so it's 3 steps plus a bug fix. Step 1, the base load. Biweekly balanced fertilizer, NPK 15-15-15. Consistency is everything.
Got it. No starvation diets.
Step 2, the infrastructure. Once a month, organic compost or chicken manure. You have to maintain the server, the soil, not just the software.
Check. Don't let the hardware rot.
Step 3, the aesthetic patch. An occasional dose of Epsom salt, 1 teaspoon per liter. That's for the magnesium, for that deep green color.
And then the fix for the invisible enemy.
The gypsum solution. If you're on tap water, especially in dry weather, salt is building up. Gypsum flocculates the soil, improves the drainage, and lets you flush those toxins out.
It's such a robust system. But, you know, the whole time we're talking, I can't help but think about how this applies beyond the garden.
How do you mean?
Well, we all feel leggy sometimes, don't we?
Oh, I certainly do by about Friday afternoon.
A bit sparse, dropping lower leaves. And what do? We grab a massive coffee, which is basically the nitrogen blast, and hope for the best.
Right, which always leads to a crash later.
Exactly. But what if we applied this software plumber mindset to our own lives, our own routines?
That's a really powerful way to reframe it. Instead of feeling guilty about being tired, look at the logs. What's the input? Are you getting the base load of sleep or good food?
But even more than that, is there an environmental salt buildup?
Is there some kind of toxicity in your environment, chronic stress, constant notifications that's just been accumulating because you haven't had a chance to flush the cache?
Exactly. You can take all the vitamins in the world, your NPK 15-15-15, but if your personal soil is locked up with stress, you can't absorb any of it.
Yeah, maybe we all need a gypsum phase, a period where we just focus on opening up the drainage and letting the toxicity wash out before we try to be productive again.
And just write it down. I think that's the final lesson from Ang. Writing part 789 isn't just for us. The act of writing is debugging.
You can't fix a bug you haven't defined. If it's all in your head, it's just noise. When you write it down, I feel leggy because of X, Y, and Z, you can actually start to patch it.
It's about taking control of the system. So whether it's a sad-looking plant in your window or a project that's stalled, don't panic. Just check your dependencies, read the error logs, and start debugging.
And maybe grab some Epsom salts. Works for the plant, works for the plumber, and a hot bath.
Works for everyone. Thanks for diving in.
See you in the logs.
Catch you next time.